Today's episode was really special. I chatted with Lauren, someone who has so much wisdom and experience in the outdoors. Her love for backpacking goes so deep. Her grandfather started by taking her dad, and her dad took her as a baby. So naturally, she just started backpacking with her own babies. She has a long list of the solo trips she's done with her boys. And honestly, she just makes it feel so possible. We talked about the practical side of solo adventures, what gear she uses, how she carries the kids and the gear, what things she doesn't pack along or that she does pack along for weight purposes. And she really opens up about the mindset aspect of working through fear and anxiety around trips alone. So it's really, really helpful. She also opens up about what was going on this winter for her, where she had a stroke completely out of the blue. And so she shares about what that was like, what her recovery looked like as a mom with two little kids at home, and how she is slowly finding her way back into her groove of doing the things that she loves. So it's a super beautiful, honest conversation, and I'm so grateful that I get to share this with you. So let's get into it.
Welcome to Let's Go Outside, a podcast bringing moms together to chat about the raw, unfiltered reality of doing the exploring we love after having kids. No matter your comfort level of adventuring with the little ones, this is a space to have honest conversations about the real struggles of getting out the door with the kiddos. I'm Danica, a mama living in a small mountain town who's totally obsessed with healthy food and taking my kids outside every single day. I professionally guided backpacking trips in the Canadian Rockies, and I'm certified as a Leave No Trace instructor. On the show, you'll hear real experiences from other moms, plus tips on gear, trail snacks, and the best practices in the wilderness. Whether it's hiking, camping, backpacking, skiing, or traveling the world you want to do more of, this is your place to learn, find encouragement, and strip away any comparison. Come embrace both motherhood and the outdoors. Stick around. This is your place. Welcome to the Outdoor Mom Club. Welcome to the Let's Go Outside podcast today. Today we have Lauren Hronek joining us. She's the backcountry mom on Instagram, and I'm just so excited to talk to her from Utah today.
Yay! Me too. I'm excited.
Yes. Okay, give us the inside scoop, Lauren. Tell us about yourself, who's in your family, and what's your favorite things to do together.
Yes, I'm a mom of two boys. I have a 14-month-old and a 5-year-old. And then obviously there's my husband. And I mean, we love being outside together. So whatever that looks like at different phases, because with kids, it does kind of change depending on ages and where you're at. Right now we do a lot of backpacking, which it's my 5-year-old. That's his favorite of all the outdoor activities we've exposed him to. So we've kind of really leaned into that. But if my husband and I had a childless day, we would for sure be on our bikes. We love biking, mountain biking, fat biking, gravel riding, whatever it is, we love bikes. So, and we do that as a family as well too. But it's really fun to see what your kids kind of lean into as you expose them to the outdoors. So yeah, it's a little bit about us.
That's awesome that your kid loves backpacking the most. I feel like that is not very common.
I know.
Like, is it the tent part, or does he actually like the hiking?
No, I would not say hiking is his favorite part. But yeah, I think it's a combination of like the tent and I mean, I really leaned into it. So when I say I leaned into it, like really leaned into it where, I mean, on average, we're going, I don't know, 2 to 4 times a month in the summer. So, and from a young age. So it's just like kind of what he became so familiar with. But yeah, I think too, he loves like getting to sleep with mom in the tent, you know, because like at home, he has his own bed and he has since, you know, he was a toddler. And so, yeah, getting to have that like time. And then, you know, I did a lot of solo backpacking with him too, or just backpacking trips where we're going with friends and my husband's not coming. And I think he really loved that like one-on-one time. And backpacking also, you know, you don't have distractions. Like I can get on my phone and take pictures or whatever, right? But you're out of service. And I think he could tell like how much undivided attention he was getting, where not even necessarily like some of our day adventures, he's getting that, you know, like whether it's hiking or biking, you know, we go and do this outing for so long but backpacking's a little different. So yeah, I think it kind of has to do with quality time a little bit.
I think that's my favorite reason to backpack too. It's just like there's no distractions. You're just present with exactly where you are and with who you are with. So I love that. I love that he has that at 5 years old.
Yeah. He also loves backpacking with water. He's like, he tells me, I've asked him before, I'm like, what would your advice be to other kids that want to backpack? And I mean, he's 5. He says water. You gotta have water. So like a lake or a river, you know, that's always been his favorite.
We could be pals. I always say to my husband, Daniel, like, I'm fine if we go anywhere and you want to like go, he loves to ridge walk. So I'm like, you can go do like, hike all the ridges. Just leave me at the lake. And,
you're like, I will just.
Or the creek. And I'll be here. Like, this is fine. You can do the rest of the big hikes.
Yeah, I know. There's something so magical about water, especially like in the mountains. Yeah, we love it. So.
An alpine lake, nothing like an alpine lake, and to wake up with your like tent right beside you.
Yes, I know. Yeah, it's so fun. It's the best.
So did you grow up like your son in the wilderness doing adventures like that, or what did it look like to get to this place where you're at now?
You know, I actually grew up almost the exact same way. To be totally honest, I went on my first backpacking trip first camping trip when I was 3 months old. And my dad also grew up backpacking as a kid.
Oh, wow.
I feel very fortunate in that. It was very generational. Honestly, like there wasn't even a question in my mind, like this is what we would do as a family in the summers, because as a kid it was like, this is what we do as a family in the summers. It's like, I'll become a mom and I'll do the same thing. So yeah. And I mean, obviously they didn't have as much fancy gear and all the things we have today to make it easier, but that's also kind of a testament that we might not need all the things sometimes we feel like we do to get outside.
Totally.
So,
I agree.
I mean, I backpacked in jeans and I took a cotton sweatshirt as a kid. Like,
totally.
And my dad
the sleeping
backpacked
pads.
with jeans. Yeah. So, I mean, granted, it's a fine line, obviously, and I want to encourage people to bring the right gear for safety and warmth and things like that. But I think we can tend to overthink it, and it can be a huge barrier into people getting out.
Yeah. And I think that we have that as a safety blanket, which is so nice to have these days. But we're actually so capable if you get out there and kind of see what you can do without or yeah, my husband teaches some survival stuff, and some of the ways that they do it is you just take out one item. Like you take out like, okay, we don't have our water purifier. How are we going to do without that? Or like, we don't have our heat. Like, how are we going to do without that? And you just kind of, you can see how resilient and adaptable you are with those different things that that you usually rely on.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Even, growing up as a kid backpacking, we actually relied on catching fish for a lot of our food. So, like, people are always like, well, what did your parents do for food backpacking with kids? And I'm like, well, we had to catch fish at the alpine lakes. Like, that was a lot of our food source. So, I mean, anyway, it's just, it is fascinating. That's really cool that your husband works in that survival realm and teaches that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty fun to do it together. So did you
continue do it as well?
Pardon?
You do it as well, the survival stuff.
Kind of. His position, he works at a summer camp for kids, and he
fun.
oversees the kids going on backpacking trips. So right now there's 215 kids in the backcountry right now that he oversees. So they're in like groups of 20, and he trains up the leaders to have all the skills to take the campers.
Oh, that is so cool. It's so amazing to like start kids.
Yeah, and these are just kids that come from all over, and we have this massive building with all these backpacks and hiking boots, and
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool experience. So he teaches a lot of that, and then he goes on those trips to train them, and then he's here on emergency response, getting the spot messages, or yeah, different things that happen. It's fun.
That's awesome though. I love that.
Yeah. It's super fun. So did you continue backpacking through your high school years and young adult years? And then you went,
then I met my husband, and when I met him, it's kind of funny because I just assumed everyone grew up backpacking. Like it was such commonplace that I just assumed everyone grew up backpacking. And I met my husband, and he had been exposed to backpacking. But of course, initially I'm thinking he just grew up backpacking with his family. But no, he didn't. He was exposed through a summer camp, kind of like similar to what you're talking about, and fell in love with it. And so, we also backpacked together. I mean, our main passion was bikes. So before kids, we we would do mostly biking, and then we'd do like a few backpacking trips this summer. But yeah, definitely always been a big part of my life for sure.
That's so cool. And I think a lot of people grow, like where I in Alberta, a lot of people grow up camping throughout the summer. But backpacking is not that common. You know, like I don't think that many people have that story that you do.
Especially like kid, you know, and like young kid through their childhood. Yeah. Wow. And I mean, again, I also thought like, you know, my dad grew up backpacking as a kid. I'm like, oh yeah, everyone's parents, you know,
I think you need to lean into that for when you share, like maybe you do like third generation backpacker.
I know. I will say, so there's a ton of pictures. My grandfather was incredible at documenting. So there's actually more pictures of my dad backpacking as a kid than there is of me backpacking as a kid. Because my dad, I mean, he likes pictures, but he wasn't the best documenter. But my grandfather was. And so people go crazy on social media anytime I post kind of like the vintage old backpacking pictures, especially when you see like these young kids, like literally backpacking. It's like, wait, what? That's like a really old photo, you know? So they're all wearing jeans and like loafers, or I mean, not really, but you know, just you can tell the gear isn't what it is today. But
that's wild.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today was about solo adventures, because I just think you've done so many and you're such a pro at that. And so people are really curious about that. And I'd love to just, just dive in and hear all about that.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I'm like, where to even begin?
Do you want to start with like systems of just like practicalities, and we can go into a couple different categories maybe, but just like how you carry it all?
Yes.
Like in that system way?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I'm like, where to even begin? But yeah, so backpacking, solo backpacking. I didn't get into like doing solo backcountry trips. I had done solo before kids, lots of solo adventures. And I'm trying to remember my first solo car camping trip. So I started with solo car camping with my first. And then around the age of 2 is when I was like, felt kind of confident and ready to dive into just like solo backcountry, you know, adventures where I don't have the safety net of my car. At first, it looks like in the beginning, I was using a hiking carrier and just loading that thing up.
With like the 20 liters of space that it is.
Yeah, and in fact, it's funny too, because a lot of people think of like the Osprey hiking carrier as like, okay, that's going to be your best option for backpacking if you're wanting to try and backpack. Well, I don't have the Osprey. I have the Deuter. So, and people think of the Deuter as like having less storage, which debatable. I mean, in terms of like how you can pack it, yeah, if you're actually talking the zippered pockets, like yes, it has less, but I've been able to like stuff things into that carrier. But yeah, the thing that was kind of difficult is like the Deuter, for example. I don't have any zippered pockets in that carrier. They're all pockets. So I had to be careful in terms of like, I couldn't rely on like a rain cover if it was going to rain. Like I had to be mindful of that.
Okay.
But yeah, I would just kind of stuff those pockets. In fact, oh dang it, no, it's not. We took the hiking carrier backpacking just a couple of weeks ago, or like a week ago. And I thought maybe it was still packed and I could show it, but it's not. And I wasn't solo. I had my husband to help carry some of the gear. But on truly solo trips, packing all the gear in there, I would use some dry bags.
Okay.
Literally carabiner them like onto the back of the hiking carrier. I would stuff everything. If it wasn't in a dry bag, I would stuff it in like the gallon Ziploc bags, like stuff it in the pockets. Yeah, and a lot of stuff is just hanging off the back, you know, pots and pans hanging off the back, water hanging off the back, sleeping bags in a dry bag hanging off the back. But it got really heavy. And you're carrying more weight than the pack like recommends, and I could start to really feel it like in my hips somewhere. It's just, I mean, like 60 pounds towards like when my kid was 2. It's a lot
and you're
of
like
weight.
Leaning backwards.
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, well, and I think the hard thing at 2 as well, because this is around the age that I started to do with these solo trips with him, is he's starting to be at an age where sometimes he wants to get down and walk a little bit. And so there was this trip we did. It was the last time I actually took the hiking carrier backpacking, when he was around the age of 2. Because I think there's a time frame when the hiking carrier is a really great tool for backpacking with kids. But he wanted to get up and down so much, and not for super long jaunts, you know. It was a 4-mile hike, but it's steep. sort of take this heavy pack off, take him out, put the heavy pack back on. Then he's like, okay, I'm ready to get up. I was exhausted just from the up and down. So then in September of 2021 is when I found the Trail Magic, which is the carrier that is meant to go on the front that exists to an already existing pack. And it was actually designed for backpacking. That was like the original intended purpose, was this family would go backpacking and they'd end up carrying their kids some of the way. And they're like, we need some type of carrier that, so you don't have to hold the kid in your arms. Mm-hmm. And so honestly, switching to the Trail Magic was a game changer for solo backpacking with young kids, just because you can still take your pack. You can take your 60 liter, 65 liter, whatever pack size you have when you are by yourself carrying gear for both of you. You know, it can be protected from the rain cover. And I actually at that age felt like it was more comfortable than the heavy hiking carrier. And you actually eliminate like 8 pounds. I'm getting really into logistics here, but
no, I think people love that.
A hiking carrier each of the hiking carriers weigh around 8 pounds. I mean, some of them, there are light versions of each carrier version, but oftentimes if you're getting a hiking carrier with the most storage, it's going to weigh somewhere between 7 and 8 pounds. So it was actually kind of nice because I just eliminated, I mean, my pack, I think, weighs around 3 pounds. So, I mean, if you get into logistics, maybe I only shed 5 pounds, but that is actually a lot when you're talking about backpacking and when you're by yourself. And the other thing that I also tried before the Trail Magic, when I was like dabbling into solo backpacking, is I was like, hey, well, maybe I'll go back to like the front carrier with my 2-year-old. I did that when he was a baby. Mm-hmm. I did the front carrier and the backpack. And the double straps, they're bigger, they're hot. It's not as breathable as the Trail Magic. If they want to get down the way I was wearing it, I still have to take off my pack to get them out of the carrier. So I did try that on one trip before then I switched to the Trail Magic. So I did the hiking carrier, loaded up a soft carrier, and then when I found the Trail Magic, I was like, this is it. And that's kind of where we just kind of went off on all of these solo backpacking adventures together, because I feel like really figured out a good system. Yeah.
Good. Oh, wow. And what age did you feel like he was keen to hike? Like, when did you kind of stop carrying him? Are you still bringing the Trail Magic with you?
No. He's got to hike, especially when, now I have another little one that I'm carrying. But so let's see, this summer, it's the one thing I will say after my stroke, my memory, sometimes it's really hard to recall. The year I got pregnant, it would have been the year I got pregnant, the summer I got pregnant. So that would have been 2 summers ago. That was kind of 2023. That was kind of like his initiation year of like, okay, you are hiking now. We did take him on a 12-mile backpacking trip in the middle of summer, and there was a lot of river crossings, so we brought the Trail Magic for the river crossings.
Okay.
But and that was his last year. Now my kid is 5 turning 6.
Okay.
So he's about to turn 6 at the end of this month. Yeah, he was 3 turning 4. So he had just had his 4th birthday. We took him on that 12-mile trip, and that was kind of like a big trip where he didn't get carried as much as he may have on other trips. But I mean, it's also kind of nice when you're like, mom's pregnant. Like, I got another kid. I can't carry anymore.
Yeah. And I find too, my oldest, who's also 5 like you, your son, not like you, sorry.
Yeah, I got it.
He's light, like he's a smaller kid, and so I would still be okay carrying him because he would just like wrap his limbs around me and be okay. But my 2-year-old is like a big sack of potatoes, like that, like the cutest, heaviest boy ever, and I am like, I am not carrying you. Like,
I know
this is not happening.
I know.
And so it like there's those ages, and then as well, like my 5-year-old's not as keen to like walk, where my 2-year-old is like determined, and so it's so interesting seeing the different personalities come out.
And there really are different personalities. Another thing too is, I mean, obviously when we can go with like other moms and friends, that's always super helpful but even just this past backpacking trip we did, it was 2.5 miles in, with some like good elevation at the end where it gets a little steep. And my 5-year-old, he wasn't feeling the best. So he was like, Mom, I can't make it. Can you carry me? And, you know, so I mean, they all have their moments too. Like, it's just when people are like, how do you get kids to walk backpacking? I'm like, there's no secret. I feel like there's no secret, you know? So, and if they don't want to walk far, just do smaller trips, you know? There's no reason that you need to push them to be doing 5 miles a day or 4 miles. Like, you know, we're going to go on a backpacking trip probably tomorrow, and it's just a 1.5 miler, you know? It just, so yeah, anyway.
That's awesome. That's so good. Do you find that there's anything that you can kind of skimp on for gear when you go by yourself so you don't have to carry so much? I'd be curious what you have to say into that.
Yes. So definitely try to really skim down my gear and just look at how I could eliminate weight, like you said. When I first started solo backpacking, so again, he's 2, I was sharing a single pad with him. A wide pad, but a single pad. Because I'm like, let's eliminate some weight and some, you know, it's space saving. But then I did eventually get him his own pad, but my rule is I really like the pads I take can only be a pound each, you know, because I just really like, I have to be strategic in the weight that I'm taking. Other things I do, I take 1 pot and we would use it as the bowl, as the water. You know, I'm not taking anything like extra. If we needed a mug, like you're drinking it out of the bowl, like that 1 pot, that 1 like bowl was our everything. I don't take a jet boil. I take the pocket rocket. It's just smaller, weight saving, so it weighs a little bit less, even with my pot and the pocket rocket. That's what it's called, right? Oh my gosh, my stroke.
Yeah, you're right.
I've always been such a like gear nerd. And so it's so crazy is like, there's so many things that I can't remember anymore.
Okay.
What other things? I don't take a footprint for my tent.
Okay.
Like, no, throw it out, which
What do you-
that might not be that big of a deal. For me personally, clothing wise, I would skip. So I would try to wear pants. I have a pair of pants that I really love that are kind of lightweight and I could easily kind of like roll up into like capris or even shorts. And then, you know, I wear.
Do you have a brand of pants you love?
Yeah, Black Diamond. It's their alpine pant that I love.
Okay.
Love for backpacking because they're just really lightweight. They dry fast. I can pull them up easily and kind of make them shorts. Yeah, it's like the only pant I feel like I can stand to backpack in. They feel like they're breathable, light enough for that. But then I still have a pant, you know, when it gets cold in the evening. So yeah, I'd make sure I was always backpacking in pants so I don't have to like, you know, carry another pair of pants. And then whatever my hiking top was, and then I would only pack for me a puffy, an extra pair of underwear sometimes, and an extra pair of socks. And if I got too gross and my pants were too dirty, I would just sleep in my sleeping bag in my underwear because I was not going to be packing myself an extra like pair of leggings or like pajama pants or wool pants or whatever. I was like, nope, I only get a puffy, maybe an extra pair of underwear and an extra pair of socks. That's all I get.
That's
If it was
amazing.
going to rain, I know. I mean, and you know, not everyone wants to do that, but
I think most people want to carry the extra pants.
I know. But I'm like, you know what? It's doable.
I love that you
And
push
then-
yourself to that though. Like it's so good. Like it's such a good
know,
challenge to
I
be like,
know.
I only brought 1 pair of pants, and that's like that's amazing. I love
And I think the thing too is when I started out too, you know, you get kind of nervous. You're like, okay, I'm out here alone with my kid. I want to make sure I am so prepared, especially like with them and their clothing, and you know, like thinking about like accidents and just it's a lot to sometimes think about or to mitigate. And so in the beginning too, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna bring a pair of pants for me, so I can bring an extra pair, you know, for him.
Okay.
But you kind of get into your system. That's the nice thing
Yeah.
about going consistently is you really start to figure out what they need and what's really important to have. But yeah, especially in the beginning, I was like, I don't know, like, you know, how many extra pairs of pants should I bring? And, you know, oh, is he going to get his shoes wet if we're by the water? Like, he probably is. Like, do I need an extra? Like, just lots of different things to think about with kids. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, I started bringing I got a lighter weight sleeping bag. Or no. Oh, yes, I did. But I got it before my kid was born in 2020. But I kind of was like, I knew I was going to be backpacking with my kid. So I was like, I want to upgrade my sleeping bag, get something that's a little bit more lighter weight. I've since moved to a quilt, which I really love. because I can kind of share it. I mean, honestly, I can share it with both kids pretty easily, and all of us stay warm. I mean, it's overkill, honestly, when they're all in their sleeping bags too. But with my first, I probably would have just co-slept with him and not gotten him his own sleeping bag for a while and dressed him in warm layers, and it probably would have worked out really well. And to be honest, that's kind of how my parents did it when they backpacked with young kids. They just opened up their sleeping bags and dressed the little ones, you know, before they were sleeping bag age, in warm clothes and layers, and they just kind of shared. Okay. So,
yeah.
You know what's so funny? I just found out about the baby sleeping bags. Like, I didn't know they existed. Like, I just put my kids in bunting bags and, like, let them sleep and, like...
Oh, yeah.
Or, like, not even bunting bags, but, like, the snowsuits. And I was like,
you just dress them in warm layers. I know. That's the thing is, like, I mean, this gear is wonderful and it's nice. Like, I love that the Morrison Outdoors is, like, follows the AAP Safe Sleep guidelines. Like, that just feels really secure, especially... as a mom, you know, going out camping or backpacking, you know, worrying about, like, especially with a baby, like, is a safe sleep. So, I mean, those products are awesome for that, and it's just nice to have that gear. But yeah, at the end of the day, you can make it work with what you have. So, yeah.
Totally.
I'm sure there's
water.
I mean, I almost
do you take tablets? Sorry, yeah, go for it.
I almost always choose to backpack where there's a water source, so that I'm not carrying like tons of water. But there has been a few times where I've solo backpacked without a water source and I'm carrying all of the water in, which is so hard. And that's again where sometimes that's where I'm like really skipping on things.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't bring deodorant, I don't bring a toothbrush, I don't bring, you know, so many of those things. I'm like, but yeah, so for water, I always bring a filter.
Okay, you do bring a filter.
I also bring tablets because I think too, when I'm solo backpacking, there's a few things where I take extra precaution, you know, like wonder if my filter crapped out on me. I know I would be okay if I had to get out of a scenario and I didn't have water. I mean, I might not be okay, right? But it's like, you're by yourself, you're going to muscle through it. You're going to have to figure it out. You're an adult. But I feel like it's another thing when I now have like a little one that I've taken in the backcountry alone, like I'm like, no, if my water filter crapped out, or you know, I don't want to make them drink straight from the lake. I feel like there's certain things that I have to take extra precautions on. So yeah, that's one of them.
So 2 systems you bring.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like same with like lighters, because I'm always like, okay, if something happened and we had to stay warm, I want to make sure that I have like 2 ways that I could start a fire, you know, whether I'm bringing a lighter and some matches. But yeah, there's several things where I have 2 systems in place. Yeah.
Good. And what about first aid? Do you have a first aid kit or any like, or bear spray or knives or stuff like that?
Yeah. Okay. So when I'm by myself, I bring bear spray. One of my big questions I always get asked is if I carry a gun. And I don't. However, I feel comfortable enough with bear spray, to be honest, and that I could have a longer conversation about this and talking about, you know, my comfort level and the safety and experiences I've had. But yeah, I feel comfortable with just bringing bear spray. And it would be my defense against animals and or a human if that was the case. I also bring like a little blowhorn to spook wildlife if I needed to in my tent. That would be kind of like my first line of defense, you know, if I had something around my tent. And then I have bear spray, and then I do have a knife, and then I obviously bring my Garmin inReach as well, so I have some type of satellite communication. But yeah, I've always felt super safe. I am lucky I am not camping in grizzly territory. We only have black bears here, and they're pretty skittish. Like we don't see them a lot. They really don't. They don't want anything to do with us. So yeah, I don't feel like I've ever had an issue. In fact, the scariest wildlife encounters I've had are actually moose.
Yeah.
Coming into our campsite at night, waking up to them surrounding our tent. And one of my big concerns is like my baby crying all of a sudden and startling them. You know, we're so vulnerable on the ground in a tent. So that's actually been my scariest experience. Well, besides one other. I mean, that's a long story, but we were fine. And, you know, we have had bears come through our camp at night too, but again, it hasn't been an issue. And, you know, making sure that we're doing things like, especially when I'm solo, like I really want to be mindful that we're not eating near the tent, we're not cooking near the tent. I'm really big on wiping them down before we get into the tent for night, changing them into their sleep clothes. They're oftentimes, you know, they're 2, 3, like they're messy eaters. So it's like I leave their clothes out with the food where the food's being stored, which usually is like a bear canister. Or we have the Urisac bear bag. I don't know if you've ever heard of those. But,
No.
Bears aren't supposed to be able to, get into the bag.
Okay. It's like a bear proof, like.
Yeah, let me show you.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's not just any bag. And I mean, it depends on where you're going because some places require, you know, like bear canisters. But yeah, it's this bear bag that's like really tough.
Okay.
And it's nice because it's not as heavy as like a bear can. Doesn't take as much space, but it also kind of just depends on the area we're going.
Yeah.
But
we are in an area where there's not a lot of bear canisters. It's just not a super developed area, and so we're often hanging our food in trees. But that's another good thing to look into.
Yeah. Well, I grew up hanging all our food in trees, and we still do that a lot too. But it's funny because here it's kind of become a little bit, I don't know, like, would you call it a taboo topic where people are like, that's not effective. And most of the time, people aren't truly hanging it in a way that is keeping it from a bear. You know, they're not really hanging it high enough. They're not hanging it off of the tree trunk enough, you know, which is true. I've seen a lot of really weak bear hangs. I've been out camping. I'm like, that's not gonna do anything. But yeah, I grew up hanging, and I actually feel like I'm pretty dang good at hanging a bear bag. Like I can get it up high enough. I can, you know, like I tie a rock to the end of that paracord. I do the
That's your party trick.
I do the I throw it like this.
Oh, there you go.
Get a big rock. So
See, I just
probably
climbed
kind
a
of
tree.
dangerous. Wait, serious?
Yeah.
You climb.
And then you like
the
cover,
tree?
like you put like your hoodie on so that you don't get sap in your hair, and then you just climb. And then
You are so
move it
much
out.
better than me. Wow.
Depends on what kind of trees are around.
You just one-upped me. I do feel like we don't always have the best trees here.
Yeah.
So I do think that's part of the problem.
Totally.
And sometimes we kind of like have to like go a ways to find like a tree that's gonna work. So, but yeah. Man, climbing the tree.
Yeah, there's tons of trees here. You pick your campsite according to where the good bear hang tree is, you know?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
You learn how to adapt to your system.
That's right.
Quickly, I wanted to ask you, you do sound like you're so knowledgeable at gear and you do research and stuff. Where is your favorite places to learn this stuff? If people, like, I know knowledge is just so powerful for people to do this. And where did you learn all of this?
I mean, I'm really lucky because I learned so much from my grandfather, my father. I mean, they gave me the foundation and the base. And again, things that I'm like, I thought everyone knew. I thought everyone knew how to hang a bear bag in a tree, you know?
Yeah.
So I was really fortunate that way. And then on top of that, like all of my siblings have kind of taken up their space in the outdoors and kind of what their passion is. And we all kind of do different things. Like my oldest brother is huge in mountaineering, has done some incredible routes. I have another brother who's a huge canyoneer. And so it's amazing because we kind of all come together too. So, and I think I would relate that to community. I think that you can learn so much from each other, from community. I also did work at REI, which always helps, you know, being just working in retail and being around the gear constantly, seeing what's coming out, you know, kind of even learning some of the more technical aspects that are like boring and that most people aren't going to dive into. I think other people is such a great way, but also there is so much information now. I mean, there's so much great gear reviews. YouTube is so powerful, so underrated. You know, I think a lot of us love the quick information that Instagram or TikTok provides, but long gear reviews where they're really going into the specifics of things, or if you're really wanting to be more knowledgeable on something, there's so much great YouTube content. I I love a lot of the stuff that REI puts out, and I don't know. I know that is it MEC, right? Is like your Canadian version, and I think you guys have like classes too. Like MEC provides classes. Yeah, REI does the same thing here, which, you know, I remember going to my very first avalanche training class at REI when I was like 16. I was like, hey, I want to learn more about avalanches. I want to be safe. Sorry, because I also, you know, have been able to be fortunate enough to learn things like backcountry skiing from my dad. But yeah, I remember I was like, I want to get more knowledgeable on my own. You know, sometimes I was like, I don't want to like have to ask dad everything. So I was like, I just signed up. I saw that there was a class at REI. I, you know, went by myself. I was like 16. I must have signed up under my dad's account.
That's hard.
Yeah, because I don't even know. I'm like, I don't even know if I could have. I don't think I had a membership at the time. Now, like working for REI, I'm like, I must have signed up as my dad to go or something. But yeah, and I think sometimes it's intimidating to find that community and to put ourselves out there, or like even in my instant, going to this class by myself.
I think courses are also such a good place to meet people to do those adventures with.
Yeah, yes. Because I mean, that's the thing, is sometimes having the information, but then having the people to go with and execute it. But also at that same note, I would say, but not if you don't have the people to go with. You know, you can get out there on your own.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
So I think obviously always going to be better to go with someone, to have someone. But at the end of the day, if that's your biggest barrier, even if it's just like starting out solo hiking in the beginning, and that's kind of, I've always been a little bit more on the solo side of things whenever I did any of my adventures, whether it was like mountain biking. I did it a lot solo. I didn't have anyone to go with, and I just didn't want to let that stop me from being able to get out there. So anyway.
And I think you can start with like the hikes that are closer to home. You're around more people, the campgrounds that have people at them, so that you're not like solely in the wilderness.
Yes.
And
yeah. Especially as you're building your skills.
Yeah.
You're building your skills. So you don't want to like start out doing your crazy adventure. But yeah, I mean, a hike that's really populated, you know, there's going to be people there's going to be cars at the trailhead, you know, it's maybe within range. I don't know about you guys. We have some really awesome access to the mountains, and so we do have a lot of areas that have service, which is nice, where you can hike and still be within range. But yeah, my other thing too is on those solo adventures, I just over the years have become such an advocate for having some type of satellite communicator. I do think if that's kind of the route you're going, then there's just no reason for you not to be carrying that. If you're going to go solo on adventures and in areas without range, like buy yourself a satellite communicator like the Garmin InReach. There's just no reason not to. In fact, I started to get kind of mad at my dad because, and again, this has always just kind of been his way of life. He does a lot of solo adventures, so I kind of watched him do that as well. And like 3 years ago, I just said, no more. I know you've done this your entire life. You've done solo trips and adventures, but no, there's just no reason like to not have that safety net. So anyway.
And now you can get the iPhone 15 with the satellite communication.
Yes. Okay, but have you tried using it? Because some people have kind of have found it to be not the most reliable. Like it has worked. I don't know though. I haven't totally looked into it. I haven't switched over to be that, for that to be like what I fully rely on just yet.
Totally.
But yeah, I do think in the coming future, I feel like, I hope that we can just rely on our phones or have that more built in as protection. So
it's coming.
Yeah, it is. It will. It's a matter of time. So
yeah. Last point I wanted to touch on for like solo adventures is preparing your mindset, or just like kind of like, what you tell yourself. I'd be curious if you have any things that you would encourage people with.
Yeah, okay, so honestly, you are always going to have some type of nerve, anxiousness. That's normal. I mean, and I remember, so the first time I took my son in the backcountry by myself, just me, you know, no other moms. To be fair, there was no one. I was scoping it out. I had my binoculars, like, is there anyone out here with us? Never heard anyone, and I was shaking. the sun was going down and I was nervous. And so some of that is natural, but also that was the first trip. And from there, you build more confidence. But so some things that I do to help myself before a trip and help some of those nerves is to think about what it is that I'm nervous about. Like I literally sit down before every trip. I think about where it is that I'm going and I think about what is it that I'm nervous about that could happen. Is it truly another human I'm worried about? Is it wildlife? Am I worried that I might get hurt? Is it too remote? I'm like wanting to think through all those scenarios before I put us in the situation. But then too, in that same regard, I can really break it down. So it's like, okay, this area, I'm a little bit worried about humans. What is it going to be like, and then I start to think about, okay, how accessible is this area? Is it somewhere that just anyone's going to come up on an afternoon and hike? Or anyway, this is a long conversation. I could sit down and break this down. And I also worked in law enforcement. So it does give me this really unique perspective. Before I became a mom, I was a social worker in the criminal justice system. And I worked specifically first for a local police department near my home where I live now. And then I worked actually for state police, our state police here in Utah, and I always worked in crimes, like violent crimes. So
Okay.
it gives me a unique perspective in terms of like, I kind of understand violent crimes and, kind of the statistics around it, the rates of it happening, which helps me break down that human piece if I'm like concerned about other people. But I will just give a blanket statement that like violent crimes, I'm talking like murders or like sexual assault or those kind of things are statistically speaking, you're more likely to have that perpetrated by someone you already know. So stranger violent crimes, statistically speaking, now I'm talking about in the United States because my frame of reference is just in the United States. Stranger violent crimes is statistically pretty rare. We hear about it a lot in the media because it draws a lot of attention. And then my next point would just be that those violent crimes, when it is stranger related, is rare, again, to be happening on places like national forests, service land, out in the wilderness. They may dispose of bodies in the wilderness, but the event actually happening, it's not as common as obviously your downtowns or your cities. So there's certain areas even near me that I actually would not feel comfortable backpacking solo, whether just me or with my kid. It's just a little too accessible to the city. So yeah. But again, I think that there's a lot of fear around, these stranger violent crimes. Statistically speaking, they're not as common as you might think. But then again, I'm still prepared for those events. So then I think about it in like, how do I feel about the places that where I'm going, kind of breaking it down. How accessible is it? Is it somewhere I've been before and been okay and not had anything weird happen? And then breaking down what it is that I'm bringing for my safety defenses. What's like, hey, I have bear spray, I have this, I'm doing this. This is just such a long conversation. I could talk about this forever. But then moving on to the aspect of like wildlife. Again, if I'm like, okay, well, I'm also worried about wildlife. Wonder if I had a wildlife encounter. So then again, it's like researching, okay, what wildlife encounters are in that area that I'm going? What am I up against? What should I be concerned about? Okay, what are my safety measures? So it's kind of just going through all of your fears beforehand, make sure you research them, you're adequately prepared, and that will help you significantly then when you're out and you're starting to feel nervous, you're starting to feel anxious, and you're like, hey, well, I've prepared for this, I've planned for this. And then one of my other big tips is going somewhere that you have been before. Go solo where you've been before, where you've had a positive experience. Because then as you start to maybe feel a little anxious in the evening, you can reframe and think back to that positive experience and think, I've camped here before. I've stayed the night here before. And not to let that be like something that gives you comfort when it shouldn't, and allows you not to be prepared, but it helps you relax some of those tense feelings or those anxious feelings when you're going. So research your fears, tackle them, address them before you go. Yeah, it really can help. And I think the last thing I would say is always listening to your gut. Always listening to your gut. There's There was one trip I was supposed to go on solo with my kid, and I just had this feeling that was like I couldn't shake. And so I just canceled. I was like, you know what? I don't know what it is, but I feel something. There was another trip where I felt the same way, and I ignored it and I went. And I ended up having to bail on that trip. We ran into some really intense weather. We had a mama cougar with brand new baby cougars right near where we were supposed to stay for the night.
Okay.
We just had so many different things. Well, this was actually a winter backcountry cabin trip. It wasn't super far in. It was only a couple miles, but yeah, we got there and I could see all the cougar baby footprints. It was like early spring. I think it was like March. But then there was this huge storm that was supposed to come in, which I knew. But when I got into the cabin, we were just gonna like hunker down for the storm and like enjoy and like be out. And we're in a cabin, right? So like we're protected from the weather. And there was a wood burning stove. So I was like, we'll hunker down for the storm overnight. It will be great. And we'll wake up in the morning. It'll be beautiful. And we could either hike out that day or the next day. And the wood burning stove wasn't working. So there was just so many different things. And so I just finally was like, we have to pack up. We have to go. We just have to go home. But I had a sick feeling the whole drive getting there, packing up. The whole hike up, I was uneasy. And I just kept blaming it on the wind was kind of going crazy, but I knew the storm was coming in. But I just kept thinking, the wind's making me nervous. The wind's making me nervous. When really it was like, my gut was like, you're not supposed to go on this trip. Like, go home, turn around. So I think listening to your gut is huge.
That's so good. Yeah. And just in a simple example, I just feel like, well, this is not necessarily wilderness, but like at playgrounds in the city, there's some times where I'm just like, this doesn't feel safe. Like, I don't want to be here with my kids. But then you get into the wilderness and you're like, wow, I feel good here. Like, I feel safe. So just talking to your points before, I just am like, that's so good. Like, instincts and knowing yourself and trusting your gut. And you can always go home.
Yeah, you can always go home. Yeah, there will always be another trip. So, I mean, what's canceling, what's bailing?
Yeah. So good.
As a somewhat crunchy mom, I care about the fibers my kids wear. I haven't switched everything over yet, but the one material I am always looking for is merino wool. It comes from sheep and it's processed into fabric that's naturally quick drying, breathable, and temperature regulating. For base layers, especially ones my kids wear repeat on trips, merino wool is my first choice. So I wanted to tell you all about Wee Woolies. They're a Canadian company that specializes in kids' base layers, making ultra soft wool from New Zealand sheep. Their clothing comes in many fun colors, keeping kids warm when it's cold and cool when it's hot. For Let's Go Outside listeners, use the code Let's Go Outside to get 10% off your next Wee Woolies order. The link is in the show notes. If you are looking to hit your protein goals, balance your blood sugar levels, and energize your day, I have just the recipes for you. I have compiled the top high-protein snack recipes from my food blog into a mini e-cookbook. They're easy to make with whole food ingredients. Many of the recipes include nuts, hemp hearts, or eggs as the main source of protein. To get this free ebook, go to besidethemountain.com/protein-ebook or check out the show notes below.
I just wanted to say, so this is like my first time talking live since my stroke, and oh my gosh, I'm gonna like try to not cry. It's crazy because I can tell I'm really rusty.
Okay.
Even in like talking on this podcast, and people will probably be like, no, I can't tell. But like public speaking and talking and presenting ideas has always been a strength of mine, and I can just tell how hard it's been to connect some of my thoughts, answer some of the questions, which I'm just really surprised on. So thank you for being patient with me as, I'm just working through this new brain that I have.
Well, do you want to share for those who don't know what happened?
Yeah, so in February, it's so wild because I was planning this international bikepacking trip with my family. We were supposed to leave March 30th, and it was like the end of February, and I was planning the last details.
Wow.
Like ordering our bike bags for the trip, because we're going to transport our bikes and all our gear for this trip to another country. And this trip was so much logistics, so much brain power. So the day before my stroke, I spent all day planning this trip. I mean, just the last logistics. I've been planning it for honestly like 6 months, but okay. I was like, dotting my I's. crossing my see
Yeah.
little things that I can't. And that night I could not sleep. I was so excited. I was like,
Okay.
oh my gosh, the trip is like, we're good to go. Everything's, dialed. We've got it all figured out.
Was this your first big adventure trip with your kids that you were planning? Like international? Sorry.
Yes, we always stay local.
Okay.
We have so much, probably you feel the same way, but we have just so much around us. So yeah, my 5-year-old actually hadn't ever left the country, right?
Okay.
No, he hadn't. So yeah, this was our first international trip. And not only were we going to make it an international trip, but we were like, let's take it a step further and let's bike pack and let's sleep in our tent, because that's what we're used to. But yeah, so I woke up that next morning and I was so tired. But obviously, I probably got 2 hours of sleep. Okay. And then I'm just playing with my little boy on the couch. He was kind of like my 1-year-old. He was kind of scooting into, he wasn't fully 1 when I had my stroke, but he was kind of like scooting into my arms, kind of like jumping off the couch a little, and I was catching him. And all of a sudden my right arm just dropped. And it was this weird feeling, like I felt this like some connection. I can't even explain it fully. Like kind of like a shock wave through my arm, and then my arm dropped. And then I couldn't pick it up. And I'm like, I can't move my fingers. And at the same time, I had this massive headache, but just onset randomly, as well as half my face was numb, my hand was numb, my tongue was numb, and I was not totally there. I was kind of delusional, but it's so hard in that moment to understand that you are not processing correctly. I was like,
okay,
I'm processing on the same level. I'm normal, but I knew something was wrong. However, I suffer from migraines, and pretty bad migraines. It's actually not uncommon for me to get numbness in my body with my migraines. And so I'm just thinking this has got to be a really intense migraine. So I stood up, but I am internally panicking because it's a very weird feeling to not be able to move your arm and I can't pick. And as soon as I stood up, I was so dizzy. The most dizzy I've ever, it was so intense. I actually thought I might die. It was just
wow.
it was so, I was so dizzy. And my husband was luckily home, and I go into the bathroom and he took one look. I said to him, I walked in, I was like, I can't move my arm. He took one look at me and he was worried that I'd had a stroke. And we're a little bit more aware of it. And I'm grateful for this piece that we're more aware, because my dad had a stroke when he was 45. I'm a lot younger. I'm in my 30s, so it's younger. I think that everyone in our family's always been like, that's so weird. He had a stroke young, could have happened to us. So because of that, that's what we acted so fast. My husband looked at me, you've had a stroke, we've got to go right now. And it's so funny, in the car, I was like, can we go to Instacare, which is just we have our emergency rooms, and then Instacare is a lower level of care. Okay. And I was like, I don't want to go to the emergency room. It's a migraine. It's just a migraine. It's just a weird migraine. My husband, and he said it was so hard reasoning with me. So we went to Instacare, and of course they rushed us right back based off my symptoms, and they're like, you need to go to the ER, you need to go to the emergency room. So they wheel me over to the ER, and they did a CT scan and a MRI and told me I had a stroke. Wow. We got there probably within an hour of me having the stroke. So we got there so quickly, which was really helpful. But yeah, it's been quite the whirlwind since. I didn't realize just how hard the recovery would be. It's funny. I can't remember how old I was when my dad had a stroke, but I was older in terms of I remember it so clearly. I was the first one at the emergency room when he had his stroke, and he looked worse than I did and his whole left side, I think his was the other side, I can't remember. His whole body was paralyzed, right? Where it was just my arm. But yeah, from there, I was in the hospital for 5 days.
Did you regain your arm strength right away?
Yeah. So yeah, well, almost pretty quickly, besides my thumb. So I was in the hospital and I couldn't write my name. I couldn't hold a utensil or a fork. And man, that is a scary feeling in your 30s. Wow.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is the function almost got worse in my thumb, or the function of my arm got better.
Okay.
But yeah, so I got most of my function back, right, besides my thumb, and just weak, and it's still weak. It's still not. It was my dominant arm, and currently my non-dominant arm is the stronger of the two. But I mean, I'm working on it. It's just slow. But yeah, they found I have a hole in my heart, and so that's what allowed the blood clot to pass through. So I had heart surgery in May to fix that hole. And then, but they also they found that I have some abnormalities in my genes that could be related to blood clotting and might have relation to my dad's stroke.
Okay.
Because they've never really been able to explain. My dad's always had issues with blood clots, and they've never really been able to explain why. So we're still kind of on this medical journey trying to figure out exactly, what's going on in terms of like, is there a genetic connection? Is there a genetic component? And then in the meantime, just also at home recovering. My grip strength it was what I have to work on the most. And kind of the reason I actually haven't gotten back on my bike yet. And my vision is like a static TV ever since my stroke. Yeah. And they don't really know anything about it, if that will improve over time or not. That's something that they don't know. Mm-hmm. My right foot, I'm like always forgetting, because the stroke was on the left frontal lobe. My right foot drags a little bit. So just trying to like strengthen that as well. And cognitively, I'm a lot better than I was. But my speech is a lot better, but I still have a lot of like disconnect. I forget the names of things. I forget, someone can even like hold up a pen and be like, what is this? And I mean, not always, right? But I'm just giving you an example, and I'll be like, that is... Okay. And I just like can't, we all have that where there's like times where we can't, we're like, oh, I know, it's on the tip of my tongue. So it's kind of like that, right? But much more frequent. And with things like, I mean, who would hold up a pen and not be able to be like, oh yeah, that's a pen. Mm-hmm. So just little things like that. And then what no one prepared me for is post-stroke fatigue is so intense. So when I first came home from the hospital, if I went to the grocery store, I needed to come home and take a nap. I made my kids dinner. I had to take a nap. You were so exhausted. And from what I understand, it's just because your brain is working overtime to create new neural pathways since that area of your brain has been damaged. And it's basically kind of trying to like reconfigure how, certain things work, whether it's like moving my arm or my grip strength or just, so yeah, the post-stroke fatigue has been really intense. I actually couldn't take care of my kids probably for the first month at all. I needed my mom every day. I'm grateful I live by my mom because she watched my kids for me because I was just too tired. I couldn't even manage taking care of my kids. So I've come a long way, and I'm grateful it wasn't worse. And something that's nice about having a stroke in your 30s is your body, your brain is younger and, kind of recovers a little bit better if that, yeah. But also isn't fun to have in your 30s. So, wow. Yeah.
Crazy. So did you have to do any exercises or training for your cognitive abilities?
So speech therapy.
Okay.
And and then occupational therapy, like for like the fine motor functions in my hand.
Okay, crazy. And how have your kids coped with this?
Man, it's much better than I expected. It was really hard though. For the time I was in the hospital, I couldn't see them for that time. They wouldn't allow me to visit or to have them visit. And that was really hard, especially I had a baby under 1 and he's had a major sleep regression because of it, which we're actually still battling all these months later. So that's been really hard. But my older son, we tried to keep his routine as close to normal as possible so that he didn't feel super disrupted in his life. But yeah, I mean, kids are resilient, and if anything, I've been so grateful to have them in my recovery. Another thing that's really common with strokes, and especially when it's your left like frontal lobe is to get post-stroke depression, which I have been battling with.
Okay.
But having my kids in recovery and having someone still smile and like laugh every day, you know, even though you're like going through the thick of it, they're still smiling, they're still laughing. And that got me through a lot of it. I mean, I'm also on antidepressants right now. I'm in therapy. I've had to do a lot of other things. You know, I'm in this active recovery. Having those like sweet, innocent children in my life through this recovery has been such a blessing, and I'm so grateful for. Yeah.
Wow, what a journey.
Yeah.
You don't expect that with little kids. Well, you don't expect it ever.
I know, with little kids. I know.
Little kids is, I always think like, I don't know what I could add to this right now. And so you are just like, just living proof, like, wow, this is a miracle. Like,
it is funny because some people were like, well, that's so great. You have your dad, you know, and he has been a huge mentor. Although he's like, he can't remember much of his recovery. He's like, it was just so traumatic. I don't really remember much other than it took him about a year to kind of feel back to normal again. But, you know, people are like, yeah, your dad, that's so great. And I'm like, yes, I don't want to undermine. I am really grateful to like have this mentor, you know, and this person to look up to and be like, okay, look what he's done since his stroke. But at the same note, I've gotten bitter a few times where I'm like, but you didn't have young children at home that you were taking care of, you know, you got to recover. Yeah, he's like, he took off time from work, had disability, short-term disability, got to just, you know, sleep when his body needed sleep. It just, anyway, I'm like,
you can't take off the full-time mom, like the role of a mom. There's not like a push pause. It's still,
so that was hard.
Still thinking
that was hard. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
what's the hardest part these days?
With the stroke?
Yeah.
Probably just not being back to the things I want to, you know, not like I have not hopped on my bike, and that's actually really crazy for me. So that's probably been the hardest. Last summer I was newly postpartum, and so, you know, you kind of were like, okay, like I'm slowing down, you know, summer of 2024, slowing down. And I watched and supported my older brother, my younger brother, and my dad all do some really big feats. One did a really hard route near our home that takes 30 hours, and I backpacked up to a spot, had his food, supplies, was a, you know, like an aid station essentially. I did the same thing for another brother who did a really hard 50-miler. And then my dad was support for him on another, he did rim to rim to rim in the Grand Canyon in a day.
Okay.
And I did all those things, and I was so excited because I kept telling myself, I'm going to get to do my big thing summer of 2025. They all said, you know, they're like, we're going to be there to support you. You know, we're going to be your aid station, whatever you need. And so it's hard to now be here in summer of 2025. And that's very much not my reality. And I know there will be other summers, but there's something hard, the sacrifices we make as women, especially when we have these, you know, active lifestyles to become mothers and to be pregnant, to be postpartum. So I feel like dealing with a stroke on top of that, and like in my child rearing years, and you know, when I'm coming off having a baby, it's been hard. It's been really hard, but it's also stretched me in ways and made me grow too. So I have to recognize, I mean, we grow when we're going through hard things, but it doesn't make it easier. So
wow. And wow, that's crazy that you're sharing like last year was my slow summer, when you're like, I did these solo, because I saw you do a road trip solo with your 2 kiddos to support one of your brothers.
Yes.
And I mean, like, those are big feats on your slow postpartum summer that you even did. And so, like,
that's
I don't
so
know.
Nice
just, I think all of these things are big deals with when we're raising our little kids. And I'm feeling like I'm in a slow season 2 right now. But yeah, I'm sorry that it feels even more slow right now.
Yeah, but that's really sweet of you to say, because I mean, also just hearing that perspective, you know, we're all kind of in it. We're all, you know.
Yeah.
So, and it's worth it, and we'll get back there.
Yeah, and you did go to Portugal, right?
Yes, so we did. And that wasn't the original destination of our bikepacking trip.
Oh, it was.
I told my husband we needed to change spots. It would be like too painful for me. So yeah, we changed to Portugal and doing like a beach trip. And we went back and forth on whether we were going to go or not. And at that point, I was so depressed. I mean, I'm also dealing with like the fatigue, but I also just like mentally couldn't get out of bed. Just felt, I mean, I've never experienced depression like that. It made I've always dealt with anxiety, but it made that type of like mental illness so real for me. I was just in such a dark place. And then that's when my husband was like, no, we're going to Portugal. And it was a huge, like, uplifted, helped my spirits. I mean, I'm not going to say like fixed my depression, right? But I think our family just needed something. And so I'm so grateful that in everything we were going through. And my husband was a champ. He had to really take on more roles with that than he normally does because, you know, I was like 1 month post-stroke and we still decided to go.
Wow.
So, I mean, I owe a lot to my husband for that. He really rallied anyway. But yeah.
Good. What a crazy feat you did. I think that's amazing though that your husband did that for you.
I know. I am really grateful. Yeah. Because I was like, hey, kids on the flight, good luck. You know, because with my fatigue, it's just like I don't know what I could even handle. I might just have to sleep the whole time. He would be off duty with 2 kids, you know. I'm like,
and you're talking like a long international flight with your first international flight with 2 children.
First, yeah.
And that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So
what a special memory, even though it was so rough.
Yeah,
like there's some beauty in that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Portugal, the memories there will always probably be some of the most tender for our family.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for anyone listening going to Portugal, any hot recommendation?
Oh my gosh, we loved it. It was so kid friendly. Like, go there with your kids. We loved it. Honestly, we loved going to so many different places in Portugal. And I know some people don't love that, but Algarve coast, beautiful. The beaches were magnificent. Going up to Porto, go to Porto. Don't sleep on it. Lisbon is amazing. We only did 1 night in Lisbon. And I think that was kind of enough for us, but like, don't miss out on Lisbon either. It's just, and then we loved, I might be saying this wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Cascais. I think that was actually our favorite destination with the Algarve coast, but you get kind of like the Lisbon feel, but with like beaches right there. Portugal is so cool. There's so much to do. Yeah, highly recommend. And take your kids. It's kid friendly.
Totally. Aw, good. We went to Portugal on my honeymoon and you're just bringing back all the memories, so.
I love it. I know.
Yes, I love that. Good.
Did you go to all those places?
No, and we were only there. I'm so bad at names. Like, you inspire me so much because, like, I am not I cannot rattle you off any gear that we have. I just, like, will tell you, like, I have a tent. That's lightweight.
Yeah.
You know, like, I am the opposite.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm, like, over here interviewing people because you need to tell us, right? Like, I'm just like, we drove the South Coast and it was amazing.
I know.
Like,
that's how my husband is. Yeah.
And we went to the most, I can tell you, like, it was the most southwest point with all the surfers, and it was
you
like
know your
unreal.
directions.
Yeah, I can tell you directions, and like if you take me back, I
You'll
can drive
take you there
to the place that we went. You know, like that's how my brain works. Like I'm very visual.
That is a skill.
Like, yeah.
My husband is better at that than I am. I'm like, I could put it in Google Maps because I remember the name, but I may not be able to get us there.
Yeah.
That's
I
funny.
literally did
that.
it. Like I took my husband back to New Zealand and I was like, I've been here. I'm gonna just tell you where to go. I was like, 5
Oh
years
my
later,
gosh,
I can do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
But I admire that you are so good at knowing the gear and all the things, and even post-stroke, you're doing it. Like you are.
Well, yeah, I'm like, you giving me that compliment right now feels really good because, yeah, it's been a struggle. So
you have shared so many helpful and good details in this. As we close out, I ask my guests 3 questions.
Okay.
And Number one is, what's your favorite moment with your kids outside that you would like to share with us?
Oh man, favorite moment with my kids outside. I mean, backpacking. I mean, being in the tent together, waking up in the morning to the mountains. We love being in the hammock. But it's just those like quiet, simple moments. Like, it's nothing super grand, but I just think being in nature really like resets us or grounds us, and then being there with your favorite people in the world. Like, there's just nothing like it. So yeah.
So good. I love that. I know often when I ask people, they're like, just being outside, like, what else am I supposed to say? Like, fresh air. What the heck? Like, earth? Yeah. Do you have a unique tip for moms who want to explore more?
I think just getting out there and like facing some of those fears. I know it can be so scary. I think so many women want to hike. I see this all the time on social media. Moms like have a baby and they want to hike with their baby, but they're nervous and they're scared to do it alone. And again, I think you mentioned this too. Start small, start close to home, and build your confidence. The very first hike I went on with my first was half mile there, half mile back. Like, I didn't finish the trail, but I just did it. I got out and I did it, and I did it by myself. I didn't have anyone to hike with when I had my first. And, I just built up from there slowly. And you feel so empowered too when we face our fears, when we do something that like intimidates us, scares us, makes us feel a little uncomfortable. And I think too, hiking, when you just have one and you can carry them, you don't get that again. I mean, you can in little ways, but that is some of the most like special time. And I'm always like, moms, take advantage. Like, hike your little heart out with that little person on your back. It's so much fun. That will forever be some of my most beloved time. So
yeah, that first year with the first babe, it's like nothing else.
And it is also stressful because we're first-time moms, but man, it's such an amazing way to jump into motherhood and start this life together.
Watching, do you know Haley? And I think her account's like Where We Went Next. And
Yes.
She's just like bringing me back to my first year. I'm just like, that was me. Like, I just am like, so many
I know,
good
and to
feelings
watch
when
it
she
again,
shares.
I know. I know. And it's crazy because when I was, doing it that first time, I was not have been confident enough to like record myself and like document this. I don't really feel like I have great documentation. Yeah. So like getting to see it through her, I'm like, I remember that. That was me. Yeah, I feel that.
Because she's been so good at documenting, and then she added the baby. So yeah, it's I love it. Okay. Last question. Where can people follow along with you? What's your call to action for them? We want to know where we can connect with you more.
Yes. So my account is backcountry.mom on Instagram. And I also have a website, backcountrymom.com, and where I like post some longer form content, although it's been on a little bit of pause since my stroke. But yeah, I'm mainly on Instagram, and I'm really trying to start getting back into Instagram after my stroke and showing up. And so yeah, love to see you there. Comments, questions, or just to chat.
Yes. Thank you, Lauren. I'm so thankful that you agreed to come on the show, and
yeah, thank you.
I know so many people will find this helpful, so thank you.
Good. Okay. Thank you. It was so fun. So nice meeting you.
I just wanted to say thank you for being here. If it sparked something in you or made you think of a friend, would you please send it their way? Word of mouth is everything for this growing little podcast community, and I'm super grateful for everyone sharing. So like always, I've dropped all the links of the places we've talked about and maybe any gear recommendations in the show notes, so check it out there, and we'll catch you next time.